Kick off with the fact that volumes must be relatively low in the South African space today, given so many holidays around the world.
Evening, Bronwyn. Yeah, we came in just under 7 billion. Market's kind of been averaging around 10. Quiet days really are 8. So the lack of the US really has had an impact with us. 7 is not bad. I mean, if you'd said to me at the beginning of the day we could have 7 billion, I would have taken it. But it certainly it was a lackluster day going forward.
Interesting that we've got Old Mutual up almost 4.5% and First Rand gaining over 3.5%. Those are the two banks in significant positive territory. Investec Limited 2 2/3% higher, and Standard Bank gaining 2.25%. What do you make of the movements on these financial stocks today?
They were quite strong. If you go back, I mean, early morning, the running was all about the resources. They really pushed our market higher, kind of plateaued. And then this afternoon, the buying came into those financial stocks. As you mentioned just before the break, the FINI 15 up 2.5%, the Resi only up around 2%. ABSA kind of lagging that index up 2% ahead of results tomorrow. And digging around and trying to find some whys and hows and wheres, there didn't seem to be any logic to it. No one was saying there's a particular story. The best we can come up with, the sense is we're moving into results seasons for the banks. Some of the commodity players have run hard and kind of people position themselves ahead of it. That said, one would have expected a little more interest then potentially in ABSA, but also if we go back in the last week or so, we've seen some upgrades, some changing in numbers from a number of analysts, and that's probably still just filtering through into the market and pushing those financial stocks higher.
How do you view ABSA at the moment, given the fact that they are going to be reporting tomorrow?
I mean, we're taking a wait and see. I mean, there are going to be some sort of accounting changes with their single stock futures. We've got written down to 0, and that anything good from that now comes on into revenue. Really, what we're going to be looking at more than anything is we want to see those bad debts, how they're performing. The expectation is that they should have peaked. They're still going to be high, but that their trend is now coming down rather than continuing up. And that really is going to be the big issue I think people are going to be looking for. Our expectation is that certainly they will be coming down, but if we look broader at the sector, the house view there, the preference out there more than anything is Nedbank, to a slightly lesser degree First Rand.
Aspen closing at the bottom of the top 40 today, underperforming the rest of the market, down 0.75%. This stock, the darling of 2009, up 117% over that period. What are your forecasts for Aspen from this point? Are we going to see further upside in 2010?
I think we are. And I mean, it was a darling of 09. I think it was a darling of the entire decade. If you go back to sort of early 2000s even. Short answer is Aspen going to do well in 2010? Yes. Is they going to get beaten by other sectors and other stocks? I think yes to that as well. I think the issue is to a degree, Aspen, there's a number of good stories there, but part of it is its defensive nature, and I think people were pulling out. Last year, a lot of the buying was really into that price. And you've got to say, where does it go from here? Other stocks that did incredibly well last year, and Naspers springs to mind. We can see their growth going forward in terms of underlying growth feeding into share price. Aspen, the sense is that underlying growth, the business has got to do a bit of catching up with the share price, so growth likely to be more muted this year.
A short while ago, I spoke to Claude van Cake, head of equities at Sanlam Investment Management, over the Zain Bharti tie-up. Of course, the news there that Bharti is buying out Zain's African assets. What do you think, what bearing is this going to have, in your opinion, on the local telecommunications stocks, specifically MTN, that is that big player on the continent?
I mean, hats off to Bharti. I mean, negotiations through to March. Once again, they're into talking. And if I was Zain, I'd be careful. This could drag on. But to the question, MTN, short term, no effect. I mean, firstly, the deal has to be worked through. Then it has to be concluded and transacted. And that's probably going to take us through, certainly into the second half, if not the last quarter of this year. And then Bharti really has to get into it and start moving. And Bharti is different to what we see in South Africa. Really, they're a low margin, huge market, whereas Africa and MTN really been operating almost, in a sense, to use a phrase, in the frontier type of space, going into new territory. So I think Bharti's going to take a bit of time to find their feet. In time, it might become a threat to MTN, but I'm not sure that it's going to be significantly different from Zain. MTN up today broadly in line with its peers, and certainly as an MTN shareholder, in the short term I wouldn't be worrying about it, and even medium and long term I'm not too sure I'd be overly concerned.
Simon, it appears that you think that Bharti can't close a deal.
Short answer, it's either Bharti or MTN. I'm not sure, and being a South African, I'm going to blame the Bharti folks. The MTN deals, 2 of them. The second one went on and on and on. Zain actually pulled out of deals and said things aren't for sale anymore. So it was a bit of a surprise to see it coming through. So the sense is that Bharti's kind of put their foot in the door, but really that door was closing. I think it's going to be a tall order.